results of the survey. I was going to start out by saying, you notice that my hair is sort of a little bit of a comb-over type thing that's sort of Trump-esque.
Oh,
no. Oh,
It's a new fact.
meaning I may be very blunt. No, not really. I want to thank everybody for participating. Let me click here. We actually had 20 members participate. That's out of 32, so that's roughly 63% of our membership. And I just want to point out that when you see percentages on the charts, they are based on the number of people participating, not the overall club. So the first question, and I hope, can you see this in the back? I mean, I really can't make it any bigger. I hope it's big enough. First question was, how often do you attend the meetings?
Oh, excuse me.
Yes.
We have some people saying they can't meet it. Can I suggest we break protocol? If you can't read the screen, we can all move forward. That would be a novel idea. Get
I don't want them up here. Leave me alone.
All right, I'll show my age and my head feeling. I'm not too proud.
Go on up, Billy doesn't want you there.
I mean, I tried to, increase the font size, but, you're limited.
Move over here, I'll be all right.
Have it be not, too many returns and that kind of thing. Anyway, how often do you attend the weekly meetings? Over 60% said they come every week. And then as you can see, roughly 20% 3 times per month, and so on. And that was just kind of get a sense of, I mean, obviously with that's a data point that we could look at and collate just by looking at the attendance. But the next one was, which of the following activities or projects have you or will you participate in over this next, over the Rotary year? And I think one of the interesting things about this is how many things we do. And not all of them are fundraisers. There are a number of service activities here. Starts out with Dictionary, Governor's Cup, Fire Appreciation, Rescue Appreciation Day, Running of the Balls, Taste of St. Mary's, Oyster Festival, Teacher Appreciation Dinner, and on over to the things that were most recent rather, Warm Breakfast, Basket Bingo, Highway Cleanup. So I think this shows a lot of participation in a lot of different things. However, we have 32 members, and the highest participation we had was for Basket Bingo, and that was, I think, 17 people. So it's just kind of, I think, indicative that we do a lot of things, a lot of people participate. Probably we could do with a little more participation in some of these activities. The next one, and I know you're not going to be able to see this, was as far as the other, but just how many other community activities do you participate in? And some of them were listed out. I thought more people went to church than, I guess that's 7. But anyway, places of worship, Chamber of Commerce, nobody in the Lions or Kiwanis, school committees and local political organizations. And then the big one, of course, is other. And some of the others, since you can't see, are things like High School Alumni Association, the Historical Society, Historic St. Mary's City, Leonardtown Business Association, Solderly, Foundation of Leonardtown Rotary, Cedar Lane Executive Committee, the Capital Design Advisory Committee for the college, Leadership Southern Maryland. So there was a broad participation, as would be, to me, expected of Rotarians, that they are busy doing other things, given our mantra of service above self. All right. So this one was on the key focus areas of Rotary, which I will admit, until this year, I was not aware of the fact that Rotary had these focus areas. And they are Peace and conflict resolution, disease prevention, water and sanitation. Now that one obviously we knew about because of the activities that Steve has led for the club. Maternal and child care, basic education and literacy, and economic development and community development. Now that was one I had no idea that was a focus area of Rotary. And what you see here are bars, very important, you know, people rated the various focus areas by how important they thought they were. And the ones that got the most were the disease and prevention, and then the basic education are viewed by the members who responded as the more important focus areas, and I would say for this club. But there are others that did fairly well. Economic development seems to be one that was maybe less favorable or important to the club members. And I know that this is hard for you guys to see, but I don't think I have any more to say about that. And as I said when we sent out the survey, my intent is to look at your responses and look at ways to go forward and see what we've been doing, how are we fulfilling these kinds of things, and what we might be doing in the future to better address these focus areas. I think one of the things that surprised me was the peace and conflict prevention and resolution. One of the reasons why I have been active in Rotary and why I like Rotary is because one of the underlying principles of Rotary is to promote world peace. And that's why they have the peace fellowships, the ambassadorial scholarships. That's why we do the kinds of projects we do worldwide. So it kind of surprised me that was not, you know, a little bit higher up on across the board. Now, obviously, it does fairly well on somewhat important, but not very important. Okay. Now, this one was please prioritize how important these areas should be to the club, with one being the most important and six the least. And the left-hand side is the international. On an international basis, how important should these things be? And you can see that water and sanitation came in the highest, and disease prevention next, and this is internationally, and then peace and conflict resolution also scored fairly well. But if we're saying, you know, 20% of the respondents, that's 4 people roughly, since we had 20 people taking part in this. But nevertheless, it's making a liar out of me because there is some, it scored higher than some of these other things. And then locally, there's sort of a flip, I guess, if you look at it. Whereas the basic education and literacy was rather low, here locally it's very high, as well as economic and community development. So again, little, I mean, it was a good way to get input on what the club members are thinking about what we've been doing and what we should be doing. So then I asked for international project funding, how satisfied are you with what we have expended? And I made it over 24 months because this past year we didn't do any international project, but we have in the prior years done several that involved water. And half of the responders, 10 people, said they were very satisfied, and then the others basically said they were either somewhat satisfied, or there were some folks that haven't been in the club long enough to know exactly what we've done over the last 24 months. And then the same question was asked about domestic funding, and there it's a little bit more spread out. 40% said they were very satisfied with how much money we have spent, and then 30% somewhat satisfied. And again, 30% would represent 6 people, 40 would be 8 people. And then there was a little bit of dissatisfaction as well on the local funding. And of course, this all ties together with what we say here, then we have to look at what we say when it comes to fundraising. This I thought was interesting and valuable to get ideas from folks about other things that we might be doing. And again, most of these, you know, we talk about service, and if you look at all the things we do, there are a number of things that are fairly service-oriented. And I think these are very good suggestions, and certainly something that the board can take under consideration. And again, some may cost us and some may not cost us anything. For instance, the Mission of Mercy, I just got the email about volunteering again this year at the Mission of Mercy for Southern Maryland, which will be up in Charles County again. And that is something that the club can participate in. We can let, you know, the fact that we're Rotarians be known by wearing our shirts. They need a lot of volunteer help, and it's very rewarding to be able to go up there and help with that whole process. So I guess we'll probably be pushing that a little bit more, you know, providing you with information. Yes, ma'am.
As a brand new person, pretty much, explain to me what Mission of Mercy does. Mission
of Mercy is done by, I guess, well, we had a former club member that's the organizer. He's a dentist, and its basic function is to provide dental service to people who cannot afford it. And even people that are on, for instance, Medicaid, doesn't necessarily cover or doesn't cover any dental work. So they have there's a humongous need for people to get free dental care. It's very fascinating to see how well organized this is.
It's
to
all
make
done
sure
in 2 days.
that they can maximize and the dentists and dental hygienists volunteer their time. I mean, it's a fascinating operation to see. And the last time that Lynn and I and Dave Alberti, we volunteered, there was a woman who was in the dental chair, I think just about the whole day we were there. Her teeth were that messed up. But she had an orthodontist working on her, and I mean, you know, the people are almost in tears when they get done because they finally have had their teeth fixed. And as Darna Morgan, who is the organizer for Southern Maryland, has pointed out, your teeth have a great deal to do with your health. If you're in constant pain, you can't eat. It's just, and then of course you're most susceptible to infection. So it is a very, very worthwhile program.
One other question, just out of curiosity, who in the Leonardtown or the St. Mary's County works closely with the food pantry?
Right now, in Leonardtown, the Rotary, we do not. But that is actually something that I was thinking about for next year.
Okay.
Again, I need to run things by the board and, you know, kind of get their buy-in. But I have some thoughts on that because you will see that other clubs do work with food pantries.
We do the Warm Project once a year where we do a breakfast.
Right.
Give to everything that's left over goes to either the church that's having there, or if it's the over, goes to the food pantry, but we haven't done anything.
Well, it usually goes to 3 Oaks.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it. But,
Which is a homeless
like, for
shelter.
instance, what was left over from the basket bingo was taken up to the food pantry in Mechanicsville. So, and then years ago, and Chris can address this, we used to work with Leonardtown High School youth in their Harvest for the Hungry. So we participated that way, maybe not as a direct, you know, here's a food pantry and just give to the specific food pantry. But on the whole, we have been participating in different ways with food pantries.
But not anything systematic on an ongoing basis with the food
Well, we
pantry.
did when it was with the
Right.
school, but
Yeah, and that was
it's
a one time, once a year thing. Interestingly, St. Paul, well, I guess it's All Saints called now, they actually run a soup kitchen. The church that's right here on the driveway coming into for the hospital parking lot.
We'll be interested in hearing more as you do some discovery, but what opportunities might be there.
I used to run a food pantry out of my basement every time my youngest daughter came up.
Oh, yeah.
She'd grade it. So that's about right.
Mine still does.
College.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay, the next question was on the fact that through donations to Rotary Foundation, that is how we are eligible to get grants from both the international and the district. Huh? No.
But it didn't.
See what? There's something wrong. Anyway, last year through First Thursday and individual donations, the average donation was $175, not 17. And that was what the question said. So it then said, well, what do you think it should be? And as you can see, 40% said $200 a year, which is also what the district's goal is, that every member, every club should be putting in $200 a year to the international, Rotary International. I will tell you, this is my Donald Trump, that
You're building a wall.
the $200, huh?
I said you're building a wall.
Yeah, I'm gonna build a wall. The $200 was based on a couple of members who have since left the club who were very generous to the foundation. So that's how we got up to $175 on average per member. So and this is one of the things that as president-elect, I'm supposed to tell the district what my goal is for the club. And I'm looking at $200 when we've lost two of the high donors and saying, can we really make that? Are the members really willing to put up that much money to, and it, you know, the way it works out, I mean, some people give a lot more, some people give what they can, so it isn't like everybody's gotta come up with $200, but overall, that's what we would look at, trying to raise per member.
So what goes into that, Barbara, is the Happy Basket, once
Once a month when we say the
Yeah.
happy baskets for the foundation.
And then, if you make a donation, like I make an annual donation to the Rotary International Foundation, the question did come up about if people make a donation to Polio Plus, does that count toward this? And because the International Foundation, there's a lot more flexibility with what they can do with the funds versus Polio Plus. So, I'm not sure whether it doesn't.
Not for the statistics, it certainly counts, but not for our average.
So,
Barbara,
anyway,
Barbara,
yes.
I think it's interesting though, if you look at the 150 to 200, that's 65%. I mean,
Oh, and then
Of the-
for
of the
250,
members.
you're up to,
excuse me?
look at the 250 down there at 10, so your 85% is,
Yeah, so I think you can, if you, $175, which is what we contributed last year, is doable based on that reaction, because you're looking at, about 85% of the membership supporting it, somewhere in between that.
It's not 85% of the membership, it's
The
85.
respondents, I'm sorry, the
Right.
respondents.
85% of the respondents.
Yes, respondents.
Was 20.
Yeah, so,
And you had 10% no answer.
Now, what about like we do the raffle and things like that? Does that money go to the foundation, or does that go in the regular general club fund?
The answer to that question is this year, and I would suspect hopefully continue it. The idea of the raffle was so that we would have some funds to buy banners to put out, signs to put out when we go to our outings and fundraisers. So right now we've got about $450 towards those things.
yeah, I think the idea was to use the raffle money to promote membership, and that would be done through, being able to have those kinds of things visible. Okay, now this one was on, given the size of the club with 32 members, how much do you believe the club should raise through fundraising events annually? And again, importantly, this is $28,000 prior to expenses. So what we actually had to use for our various service projects is definitely going to be lower than the $28,000. But the majority said $25,000 to $30,000, and then others said a little bit higher than that, $30,000 to $35,000. So again, you know, this is just sort of like, okay, what do you think? And it looks like we're probably in the ballpark, at least as to what we've been doing in the past. But then the next question, this is not, I must have missed something, because there's another question, and it says, how many fundraisers should we have? And that number comes in a little lower than where we've been heading, if you will. Let's just look at this one real quick. We did our membership drive back in October, and you can see that there was, most people, 12 people, were very happy with that membership drive. And it certainly was very productive in terms of, I think, both new members coming in and kind of getting our own enthusiasm up for the club. I will point out, being Trump-esque, we do not have a membership chair for next year. And so, if there's some lovely volunteer out there that would like to do it, see me. Because, as you know, the woman who ran the membership drive did leave the club, moved away, so.
We scared her off.
We scared her off. Okay, now this one says, what percentage of funds should be applied to international projects? And again, it's roughly somewhere less than 50%. And I think, and I had intended to kind of look at our budget. I think this probably tracks with what we've done, if you look at the budget, because when we look at what we do locally, it isn't, it's not just the community grants. We do the scholarships, you know, we do a number of things. So the split may be pretty close to this, but I'm gonna look at the budget and see how that actually pans out. I didn't have time to do it. This is the one on how many fundraisers should we have? And again, the majority said 3. And that right now we're doing running of the balls, the Governor's Cup,
Basket bingo.
Basket bingo. Those are the 3. Now, Taste of St. Mary's, that was, you know, that's really helping out the chamber, but we do get a little bit of money from doing that.
I think part of the answer to this question is, how do we get up participation in these fundraisers? Because you see the same faces, you know, there from, you know, early in the morning till late at night, people staying all the time for the day, and other members not showing at all. How do we, you know, everybody wants to do fundraisers, but we have to be able to man them, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that everybody else has a life too.
Right.
You know, so could people get tired of being the same ones there all the time for such a prolonged period of time? How do we get participation up? So, you know, on a Saturday when we have the Governor's Cup, you're not there from 7 to 10 at night. How do we get the people to show up?
Well, there are some clubs who make it mandatory, and it's something I consider doing. And I, quite honestly, I was afraid I'd have a revolt. You know, and sometimes we have to admit that the people just simply aren't available.
Sure, I mean, everybody, but you do see the same faces over and over and over
Yeah.
again. So how do we get the others involved?
Well, that's every
That's the
organization.
own question.
involved. Well,
Right, that's right.
You know, I guess the for instance is over the past few years with running of the balls, when we first started out, I used to track, and everyone got a sheet, and I tracked who got sheets, and I tried to put it up on the board, you know, so-and-so sold so many balls, and create that momentum. and, you know, perhaps we can do a better job than, you know, asking for volunteers is one thing. Maybe we need as a club to do a better job at saying, I've noticed you haven't volunteered, we need you to come. Because sometimes, you know, asking for volunteers and asking one-on-one is a little
More
bit,
effective.
a little bit more effective.
Okay, we move on.
Do you have another suggestion?
No, I just, that just brought to mind, you know, it's easy to say we need to have more fundraisers, but how do we man them? How do we make sure that, you know, we're spreading the wealth around between people is just the reason I bring it up. But I mean, it's a good question. How do we do that? And that's any organization's probably.
You know, I was approached by the incoming president for Lexington Park. She wants to do a 5K run for the Operation Chahita, which I think is a noble idea. And knowing that we're adding one more with our first responder scholarship in 2016-17, you know, I said, I can't go to our club and ask them to do another fundraiser. So, you know, we'll certainly ask, you know, if people will volunteer maybe to show up that day. But, you know, it'd be too much. And, you know, and we do need something. The Governor's Cup is very precarious, folks, right now. It has been for years. It continues to decline a little bit every year. You know, the college gets crunched for funds. It's one of the things they could eliminate. You know, the importance of the event to us as a club keeps diminishing because people are simply not, you know, they're not running around showing their breasts and drinking like they used to, and so we're making less money.
That happened in Leonardtown?
No, it was St. Mary's
I don't
College.
know if it was,
Oh, it absolutely was.
Shucks.
So we may need to carry for a while, you know, we may need to keep that, just, you know. If, you know, so there's a method to the madness of looking for additional fundraising.
I'm gonna,
I'm
only
sorry.
on 13, so.
I'm sorry.
Again, how satisfied are you with the Fifth Thursday activity? I was curious about somewhat dissatisfied, because I guess what I would say is, what would you like to see differently if you're somewhat dissatisfied? And I know one thought that I've had in the past is we never specifically do anything where we're including families. I mean, obviously, if we go to Fitzy's, our spouses are invited, but we don't do like a picnic or something where, you know, you can bring your grandkids or your children or whatever. So anyway, that was the only thing I would comment on here, just about that there were some people that were somewhat dissatisfied with First Thursday, because I always thought I think they're kind of fun. But anyhow.
Did they give any comments back on that?
No.
No.
And,
Barbara?
yes.
What was the number of people that answered that question?
Well, I think everyone answered it. Where's my, go back.
3 had no answer on it, so they just didn't click.
Yeah, so, yeah, 3 didn't have any answer, but the rest of the folks did.
So that would indicate 17.
I don't think we've had 17 people, about 2/3 of the.
I know that's one that I've been guilty of just, you know, not attending because never, you know, fit up with my schedule or just haven't. So I would have no opinion on it. It's not a negative opinion. I just one thing that I have.
You're really saying you see us once a week, that's enough.
So let's how satisfied are you with the speakers? Now, this is kudos to all those folks who either volunteer or have their arm twisted to take the speaker coordinator for a month, but very satisfied. And I will say that I have always been very pleased with our speakers. And you know, not every club does as many speakers as we do. Some only do us one a month or every 2 weeks or something like that. So I thought this was a very a very good thing to see that the club members are pleased with that. I think we get a lot of information from our speakers.
From many different walks of life. So
Right.
we get some great speakers here and a lot of great information on what's going on in the community and what needs to be done. I think that's awesome.
And this one is about our dues, which is $200 plus the $2 for the come in every day. And 14 people said they thought it was just about right. One person said it was too high, and a couple of folks said, 4 people said too low. And I will say that probably we are about one of the lowest in the district for our dues. And again,
Is it the annual or is it the per visit?
No, the annual dues that everybody has to put in.
Per visit,
the
it's not when
$200.
you're going to the doctors, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah, I think some clubs, maybe some of their overhead, for instance, their renting space, they are committed to paying for so many people for lunch, so they charge for lunch, not as you walk in the door, but as if you use it or lose it. And
in fact, one of the things at the district conference that they talked about was especially for younger folks, since we want to be able to bring in younger folks, sometimes not necessarily this, but some of the clubs charge so much that
It
it's
dissuades a
prohibitive.
young family from being able to participate.
Right,
Yeah.
and so one of the suggestions was, you cut it in half for other for newer members or for younger members. I think they had a term for it, like under 35 or something like that. But it is true that some of them roll in, not only do they roll in the cost of a meal, but also sometimes a donation to the foundation is included in the dues, and we don't do that, so.
What about increasing the annual, or the meeting donation from 2 or 3 or $5 or something like that? As a way, as opposed to increasing the annual, that would help get it up, and I would think that most people would be able to afford that. I think it's a way to bolster it. I mean, to me, I would rather have that than have the annual
Well, I think the
increase.
50/50, that's another $2, so people.
But that's
normally-
optional too.
Yeah.
So Steve has a question.
I've been to a lot of clubs throughout the district pitching our service projects, and most of the clubs, their per meeting cost ranges between $15 and $25. And
Does that include
I'd say 90,
Yes.
at least 90% includes a meal. We've talked about this with the board before. From my experience there, it seems like once that becomes ingrained in the club as the standard that you have a meal, it's almost as if it becomes something that the membership looks forward to. It's not just getting up to go to the meeting; it's getting up to go to breakfast or go to lunch or dinner or whatever. And I'd say that from the clubs I've gone to, it's pretty easy